This episode of the ResortLoop.com podcast is brought to you by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. Joffrey's is proud to be the official specialty coffee of Disney. Enjoy drinks and pastries at Joffrey's kiosks throughout the parks and check out the Disney Specialty Coffee Collection only at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Please board quickly and safely. Our monorail will be departing momentarily. Thank you.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is ResortLoop.com. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
And Bob, this is episode 209. I'm very excited about today's show.
Very excited about the show. We have a very, very special guest on today. He has done amazing things. Tim, why don't you introduce who we have today?
I will. We always like to do a unique twist on how you can connect with Disney. Today we're featured by someone who's been nominated for a Who's Who from the James Beard Foundation. He's on the board of Chef Magazine. He's been featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Bon Appetit, Gourmet Food and Wine. He's been a judge. This is awesome. On Iron Chef America, the Next Food Network star, and one of my personal favorites, Restaurant Impossible. Join us on the show, Farmer Lee Jones.
Hi, Farmer Lee.
Hey, good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us today. This is very exciting.
Well, thank you very much. You know, I always hate hearing those accolades about me. We're just dirt farmers out here, but it is a family business, and I've done nothing on my own. We've got an amazing team on the farm, and I'm only as good as my team, and my team is only as good as me. It's a collective group of folks. We have such an amazing team out here on the farm from parts of the world, really from all parts of the world.
Well, before we get into your actual Disney connection, why don't you tell us what we do for everyone who's maybe not familiar with you?
Well, we're a small, sustainable farm, and we're located right along Lake Erie in a pretty amazing microclimate. Lake Erie is the shallowest of all the Great Lakes. Consequently, it's the warmest. And we're 2.9 miles inland from Lake Erie. And it's some of the richest sandy loam in the world. And we grow gourmet vegetables, herbs, greens, lettuces, edible flowers. And we work directly with chefs, caterers, country clubs, personal chefs, private chefs, yacht chefs. And we ship direct via FedEx from the back of the farm to the back door of wherever that chef is.
Wow. Like how far out have you delivered?
Last week we had a shipment to Mandarin Oriental, Hong Kong, and Mandarin Oriental, Hong Kong is the number one resort in the world. So really high-end resorts. We shipped one last week to Dubai, directly to a chef over there that we had worked with in the States, and he got over there and was looking for the same quality and ingredients that that he had worked with us in the States and couldn't find them there.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's pretty far out.
You can't get much further away.
The reality is that there's a huge movement with the whole local movement, and I think that everybody is really well intended with that. And if you can get something in your backyard that's good quality from a small sustainable farmer, by all means you should do it. But the reality is that we're not sustainable unless we reach out of our 150-mile radius to be able to find folks that really want sustainably grown product. There are not enough people with an interest in what we do to be able to sustain ourselves. It was interesting, Alice Waters, who's really been kind of a pioneer at the whole farm to table thing, buys her lobster from a little fisherman on the East Coast, and of course she's all the way on the West Coast. And her point was, I buy it from him because he has the best lobster, and furthermore, if I don't support him, he's not sustainable. So we really kind of look at anybody that understands philosophically and conceptually quality, sustainably grown products directly from the farm.
That's awesome.
So exactly what does sustainable mean? I mean, how does that break down to the general consumer? How do we know we're supporting the correct?
Well, sustainable, I think there are so many definitions of that. In the past, a farmer always felt like leaving his land in better condition for future generations. But we kind of try and take into consideration not only the land, but the people. It needs to be economically viable. It needs to be environmentally viable, and it needs to be sustainable. Something that you do that is not going to endanger the future environment or the potential for that farm to be able to have a transition into the future. So you're concerned about not using chemicals that are going to endanger the environment or us. You're concerned about taking proper care of the people so that they're paid a competitive wage so that they're willing to stay on small family farms. There was such a mass exodus. It was either Earl Butz was a director of agriculture back in the 70s, and his message was get big or get out. And a lot of small farms got out because they just couldn't compete. It was all about how many tons per acre we can produce and do it in a mass way. And now we've got the history in place to recognize that mass scale farming comes with a price. It's with genetically modified seeds, and we're spraying heavy chemicals on these to do it efficiently. The reality is that the commercial farmers in the United States produce food cheaper than any other country in the world. The conundrum is this: we produce the food cheaper than any other country in the world, but we also have the highest health care in the world. And we actually lost our family farm in the early 80s. We were trying to compete, trying to do it large scale. We were using the chemical, and ultimately we got wrapped up in 21% interest rates and a devastating hailstorm, and we just couldn't compete. And, we kind of regrouped and recognized that there was a small but growing group of people that were concerned about where their food was coming from. But even more, perhaps, and I think what's driven this movement is that there were a group of chefs that supported small-scale farming, knowing where their products were coming from, knowing the farmer, knowing how that farmer was farming, and knowing that they had sustainability in mind. And we've been so supported by, chefs not only in the Cleveland area near us, but really chefs from around the country and ultimately around the world. And we're so grateful to have that relationship with these chefs.
And it seems like it's the really high-end chefs that have embraced this more organic growing and gotten away from just, I guess it was the big conglomerate food processors that would deliver food to their restaurants, and it was the really, really good chefs, the ones with the great restaurants, that kind of look to you guys. Is that how you kind of were found out? Who found you?
Actually, we were selling at a farmer's market, and there was a woman who had trained in Europe, and she was a chef, and she was working for a brokerage firm in Cleveland, Ohio. Her name was Iris Balin, and she kept pestering us for particular products grown in particular ways, and it was very unfamiliar with us. Iris went on from that chef position to become the food editor at the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and for many years. And she really turned us on to this whole concept of looking for varieties that were grown for flavor rather than the varieties that would produce the most tons per acre, and looking for products grown in a particular way. And then, of course, she turned us on to a fellow by the name of Parker Bosley, who was a huge deal back in the 80s at Sammy's in the Flats. And, it just kind of evolved. And then, of course, the Ritz-Carlton in Cleveland began, and we made a great relationship with him. He had a European influence as well. And then he moved to a location in Phoenix, and he turned us on to other chefs. And it's really just been kind of a slow word of mouth over the last 30 years.
That's awesome.
That is incredible. So how did...
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say, so how did the word of mouth eventually make it down to Disney World? Because you have a big relationship with a lot of the signature chefs down there.
Well, we do. We're very fortunate to have a great relationship with Disney. And, it's kind of, I don't know whether I would say cult-like, but the whole chef world, it's huge, but yet it's very small. The chefs that work in the top end they all seem to know each other. And a lot, you can trace back the top 100 chefs in the United States, and I would be willing to say that they've had some experience that would trace back to about 4 or 5 chefs, either in the United States or in Europe. It would potentially be Alain Ducasse or Daniel Boulou or Jean-Georges von Richten or Charlie Trotter, or one that goes back another level would have been Jean-Louis Paladin. And he was very highly touted French chef that came over to the United States from France and was at the Watergate Hotel back in the late 70s, early 80s. And a lot of chefs that in that top 100 have worked under, folks like that. And so it's a very tight-knit group. But Scott Hummel from down at Victoria and Albert's had trained under one of those chefs, and he had heard about us. And, the relationship began. And then, of course, he introduced us to other chefs within Disney. And they've been a great mentor, and they've really taken us under their wing. And one of the things that's there's 2 things that are really, really critically important to Disney. Number one, absolute impeccable food safety. It is without any question or any hesitation. That's the number one most important thing. They have a food safety person on the farm 4 times a year. The other thing is impeccable quality. Quality and food safety are their 2 most important things. And they've really guided our vision and our path, throughout the years with focusing on those things.
Well, that kind of leads us to where, what you have going on coming up here pretty soon. You have it's called Dinner with Disney Chefs, is it not?
Yes, the farm, the Chef's Garden, built a place called the Culinary Vegetable Institute. And the whole idea was for the chefs that we work with from around the country or around the world to be able to come and to be able to do experimentation with new products, as we constantly are trying new, I say new tongue-in-cheek, but old heirloom varieties or something we've rediscovered and reintroducing it to chefs. But the Institute is a place where chefs can come and be able to do experimentation. And so all the time, we even do pop-ups, but we will bring our chefs in that we work with from around the country, and we'll feature their cuisine. And we're so excited to have the folks from Disney coming in to do a dinner, and the menu is just a beautiful thing. And it's kind of funny. This is, I believe, the 3rd or 4th Disney chef to come and cook on the farm, and they all are pretty competitive. And they all want to outdo the last Disney chef that was here. Oh. And so they just are really cranked up to just blow it out of the water. The folks that come to this dinner are really in for a treat. And it's very interactive. The chefs will come out in the dining room and engage with the guests, and the guests are encouraged. It's all open. Between the dining room and the kitchen is all an open space. So you can walk right up into the kitchen and watch them plating. We do have a rule. If you come into the kitchen and you're there for more than 3 minutes, we will put an apron on you.
Excellent. So how can any of our listeners participate in this?
Oh, we would love to have them come out and join us. It's really going to be a lot of fun. Go to the Culinary Vegetable Institute and go online and look for the Disney dinner, and call into the farm at 419-499-7500. Or I think you can actually book your reservations online at culinaryvegetableInstitute.com.
That should be a lot of fun.
It'll be a blast. Are you going to come out for it, Tim?
Well, I think we're going to try. I'm going to have to check a couple schedule things, but it sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
And what is that date, Farmer Lee?
You caught me.
Yeah.
I think it's May 18th. It's a Saturday evening, isn't it? May 18th, Tim. I know it's a Saturday, and we usually start about 6:30. And when everybody gets there, we get started, and the chef will come out and kind of talk about what has inspired them. And the cool thing is that the basic menu will be in place, but they will tour the farm the day before, and they'll see things that they are inspired by, and they'll end up adding to the menu. So that menu is kind of a base as to what you're going to experience, and it's going to be that menu and more.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to be May 23rd.
May 23rd. I don't know why I keep saying the 18th.
At 6:30. It's because of the weather. It's much colder than it is, and you would think.
That would be great. Everybody will get there about 4 days early if they come on the 18th. May 23rd. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. We always will make sure we get it out there. We'll have that on our website, too, and in the show notes for everybody.
All right, great.
Because you have a nice lineup of chefs here. You have John Clark. I think he's from the Grand Floridian.
Yes, he's amazing. He's been there for like 20 years.
Oh, awesome. And Joe Haberlin from the Contemporary.
Yeah.
Phil Ponticelli from Citrico's. People love Citrico's. They love that. Nick Musara from the cruise line, Disney Cruise Line.
Right.
And this might be my favorite one. Amanda Lauder. I've never met her, but she's from the Animal Kingdom Lodge and works in the bakery from what I've been able to find out.
I have, and I understand that she is one exceptional pastry chef. And they create magic on the plate, just like they do down at Disney.
That is going to be a wonderful event. That's May 23rd, Tim, you said?
May 23rd at 6:30. It's in Huron, Ohio. So if you're anywhere with a few hours drive, definitely look into this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, the farm is in Huron, and the Culinary Vegetable Institute, the address is in Milan, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
So, you can surprise your wife and tell her you're taking her to Milan for dinner. It's really, the out-of-towners seem to pronounce what we say as Milan.
Right.
So it's kind of funny. But, we do all kinds of things. We do weddings. We do rehearsal dinners. We do some corporate team building. But the most fun we have are these pop-up dinners that feature our guest chefs. And Disney holds a very special place in our heart, and we're really excited about this upcoming dinner. Hope to see you there.
Awesome. Now, can you tell me, can listeners also purchase like the same kind of products that you sell to the chefs worldwide?
They can if they go to Omaha Steaks.
Okay.
We have a partnership with them, and if you go to their website, and you can buy our product online, and we'll still ship it from the farm here directly to them.
Okay.
No, I see it now. Yeah, I'm looking at your website, the Chef's Garden, or chefs-garden.com.
Right.
And it says exclusively available on omahasteaks.com. Okay, very good. Very cool. And shipped directly to your house. So
yeah,
you can get some fantastic vegetables. Yeah. That is awesome.
I know. I've been there when you've opened your boxes before. And just the aroma and the freshness just bursts right out as soon as you open those boxes up. It's fantastic.
Well, that's what sustainable agriculture is all about.
I got to ask you. Now, you go down to Disney World. You've been down there for a few different events?
Right, yeah.
What do you normally do when you go down there?
What do I normally do?
Yeah, do you have like an event, or do you just visit with the chefs?
It's predominantly visiting with the chefs. That's our greatest opportunity, and we were just down there about 2 weeks ago, and we brought down. Ideally, we would bring every one of the chefs here to the farm, but we tried to, since that's not possible, we tried to take the farm to them. So we picked and harvested, all of the sexiest product that we're harvesting from the greenhouses and the fields, and took it down, and they gave us an opportunity to present our product to about 150 chefs within Disney. And it's about sharing with them what's available, and we got a little bit of a surprise the last time. We were just going in to say hello to Scott at Victoria and Albert's, Chef Scott, and we walked in the back door to say hello, and the next thing you know, we were sat at their chef's table, and we were prepared a dinner, about an 8-course dinner that was truly fit for a king. And it was a lifetime experience to get to eat, at Victoria and Albert's under the helm of Scott, Chef Scott.
Oh, Scott Hunnell is amazing.
He is.
That's awesome. My goodness.
It blew us away.
Would you have to say that is now your favorite Walt Disney World restaurant?
Oh, that would be a very politically tough thing to say.
I guess if you know all the chefs, you really can't call one out. But
it was one of the most memorable lifetime experiences that I've ever had. Scott Hummel is not only an amazing chef, but he is a true gentleman, and probably one of the classiest guys that I've ever met. Just top notch. He really represents, Walt Disney and Disney World is what they're all about. I mean, they're very, very first class folks all the way.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, Tim, I got to say this,
okay.
And I don't know if Farmer Lee is aware of this, but one of our great sponsors is Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company out of Tampa. And we talk a lot about them because of how great their coffee is. And we've just got to say to all of our listeners out there in Looper Nation, the Chef's Garden and Farmer Lee Jones and his farm has some of the freshest produce you're going to find anywhere on the planet. And I mean, it is fantastic. You can't go wrong if you're looking for a fresh, organic, sustainable farm product. You're not going to go wrong ordering from Farmer Lee Jones in the Chef's Garden. So check him out. Go to his website, Google the Chef's Garden, and you'll find it. Out of Huron, Ohio, of all places.
Who'd have thought?
The booming metropolis.
I'm sure it's larger now than it was years ago.
I just had to get that out because I want everybody to know, we're talking to you and you supply Disney with some fantastic product down there. And Tim and I have been lucky enough to see what you grow, and it is the freshest stuff I've ever seen in my life. So,
well, thank you. We try very hard.
Absolutely. If it's good for Disney, it's got to be good for everybody. So, Tim, I think that's all I have for this great guest that we've had today, Farmer Lee Jones from the Chef's Garden in Huron, Ohio. We really appreciate him coming on.
Farmer Lee, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was great.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Do it again sometime.
Absolutely, we will. And don't forget also the Culinary Vegetable Institute.com to look up for that dinner with the Disney chefs on May 23rd.
Yeah, that's going to be a life-changing experience, I think, for some folks.
Oh my, 5 Disney chefs, 1 meal. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott, and you can find me on Twitter at ResortLoop.Tim. I have and we also have that website, ResortLoop.com.
I'm ResortLoop Bob on the Twitter and the Instagram. Don't forget Facebook.com/ResortLoop. Don't forget your Joffrey's Coffee, 20% off with code Looper. And Tim, where else can they listen?
You can always find us on the Stitcher. Everybody, thanks for joining us. This has been the Gateway to the Magic.
See you, everybody.
Farmer Lee, I have one last question involving. Are you familiar with the land pavilion down in Epcot?
Oh yes. I went through that where you go on a little moat or on the boat through the moat, or
yeah, it takes you through like future farming technologies or current farming technologies.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the sign is Farmer Jones on the mailbox.
Oh my gosh, it is.
You're right.
That's right.